So I'm sitting here with Judy Whittakis and Harris Fleming, who are the co-chairs of our West Side Story 2.0 team, and they've been tasked with leading a discernment process that hopefully many of you have been part of. And so today we're going to talk about 4 core values, the core values that Session just recently adopted, and these help us understand who we are and who we want to be in the future. And so the first core value is living contemplatively. And I guess I wonder, Judy, what does that mean to you personally, to live contemplatively?
So what it means to me is to really think about all the different parts of the whole. What it means to be me, and how the body, the spirit, the soul, how it all works together.
Yeah. So there's different dimensions to each of us, and so it helps you kind of try to pay attention to the fullness of who you are as a human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how about you, Harris? What does living contemplatively mean to you?
To me, I think it starts with slowing down, okay? Because we all get into such a frenzy of trying to get through the day every day. We kind of get an autopilot, and we really don't recognize the small blessings and gifts we see every day. And if we don't recognize them, we can't absorb them, and we can't share them. So I think everything that we're willing to do and wanting to do as a congregation starts with being aware of what we have every day. So that's what we have inside, and we can share it outwardly.
So you see any value in Westside learning how to slow down a little bit?
A little bit. A little bit. You know, we have 5-year plans, we have 10-year plans. When we started, this conversation, it was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, if we tried to get into having a long-term plan, I think we would have missed some of the conversations that led us to where we are in these 4 core values.
Yeah. And of course, our discernment process included the duration of COVID.
Right.
So we couldn't have anticipated that, right?
Right. And I think that allowed us to have more flexibility, certainly in people attending meetings where they might not have been able to get to Westside on 7 o'clock on a given Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So, if we had to be really mindful of things we weren't aware of yet, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. Judy, any sense of how COVID kind of impacted us and kind of connects to this theme of living contemplatively?
I think it really, to Harris's point, it gave us permission to slow down. And it also offered the opportunity to grow online and really take the time, take the talent and the resources to support the technology that was needed to better our online presence. And for us, we watched every week online. We weren't ready to come back in person until we were, but it gave us that opportunity to stay connected. Same with, all the Zoom meetings, be it Session, or I'm part of Circles of Trust, or any of the other small groups. It really gave us that opportunity to stay connected when we were all in our own homes.
Yeah. Anything else about living contemplatively that you think is important to note for our community and moving forward?
I think Wellness Wednesday has just been fantastic. It really came out of the Wellness Committee, and it really has broadened and also given voice to a lot of subjects that maybe Westside wouldn't have talked about, like mental health, food insecurity, etc. So I think it really gave space to talk about some deeper.
So the second core value is loving inclusively. And originally we had that first, and then we decided, it really does flow from being more contemplative. So what does loving inclusively mean to you personally?
It really means that everybody is loved, and no matter what history you have or where you come from, we need to listen and understand and really include. And it also means, giving back. How can we help those that need to be helped?
Yeah, which of course includes ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
We all have a lot to learn and a lot of help we need every day. But Harris, how about for you? What does loving inclusively mean for you?
I look at it very literally. To me, it means no one is left out, including of everyone. And loving, to me, should be an action verb, not just a state of being. And to do that, you need to be proactive. It's great to have love in your heart and good intentions, but in terms of how it applies to Westside and the things we've been talking about, it's you have that as a foundation, but you need to share it outwardly with everyone. That's the inclusive part.
Yeah.
And until you do that, and as you said, you need to start with loving yourself and loving the many parts of yourself. And as Judy was saying, we all have differences. Right now, it's a very polarizing situation with COVID politically, and learning to love everyone, including those people you might have the most deep-set disagreements with, is a challenge as Christians, and therefore, as a congregation, things we need to work on and progress with.
Yeah, and the gift of a larger congregation is you're more likely to have people that don't see things the way that you do, right? For you, Judy, any sense of how loving inclusively is important for Westside as we move forward?
I think it's just understanding where the needs are out in the world. We have so many wonderful mission partners, and I know there's so many people within Westside that want to volunteer and want to help. So it's how do we get those opportunities out there? And as I have always said to my kids, when you volunteer, you get really more out of it than the organization that you're volunteering with. So it's really trying to connect with the communities, see what's needed, and then try and support whatever they need.
Yeah. Anything else on loving inclusively that is important to share?
I think one of the things is people need to recognize they will be loved, without judgment.
Yeah.
And that's, they will feel then included, again, inclusive being, a literal sense of, I belong there. There's nobody who doesn't belong here.
Yeah.
And people need to have a sense of that they will be welcome, they won't be judged, and it doesn't matter what background they come from, religiously or ethnically, they're welcome.
The third core value is sharing generously. And so what does that mean to you guys personally first? Let's start there. What does it sharing generously mean?
I think it means, really being honest. The Instagram world of everything's perfect, your perfect family, your perfect life, your perfect whatever. That's just not reality. There's so many challenges out there, and your challenge is your challenge, and it affects you versus others. And I think it's just being honest and having those honest relationships and sharing when you too struggle or you do have something you're not really sure how to handle. So it's having those honest conversations, and how to get there is, through fellowship. Like, how can we have more fellowship time together to then build those relationships within the congregation?
It's almost like everybody who comes into a community has this sense of if they really knew who I was, they wouldn't accept me.
Right.
And you can kind of preempt that by just saying, we're all broken. We all got issues. None of us, look like we do, on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
Feel beneath the surface. There's a whole lot of mess there. So beautiful. I love that. How about for you, Harris? What does it mean to share generously?
Well, we're all given quite a lot. I think everybody in Westside, to a greater or lesser extent, is very blessed to be here and to live the life that we live and have the church community we have. But they're not really our gifts to keep to ourselves. They're given to us. Yeah. And I think we have an obligation to share those generously with our neighbors, with other Westsiders and people who are not at Westside. It's who we are, and that's why it's a core value.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for turning to Westside. I mean, how else does this value kind of connect to where we are, where we need to go in the future?
Well, I think, it is so important to share what we have, to Harris's point, our time, talent, and treasure, as, you say each week. And everybody can give in their own way. And I think it's important that as we move forward with our different mission partners and hopefully grow to new mission partners, that we support them in whatever we can so that they can grow. And everybody can be involved at whatever level they want. When I was younger and had 2 small kids, and I still work full time, we used to have one-shot deals where, you had to come and clean the kitchen or something one Saturday morning. I could do that, so I did it. But I couldn't, commit to a 6-week or year-long program. So I think offering different opportunities to families, to singles, to adults, to the youth, is a great way to share generously.
Well, I think what's underneath that for me is that it's human nature. There's an impulse in us to want to give and share and make a difference, right? And so it's kind of tapping into something that I think everybody longs to do. It's just hard to sometimes know how to do it or where to do it. And, anything else you want to add about sharing generously?
Yeah, I think it is certainly where we want to go, but I think it also reflects where we already are.
Yeah.
You know, we had a lot of conversations with our ministry partners, and the one thing that always struck me is how grateful they were. And they were truly thankful that Westside was here, and also was very proactive in seeking out opportunities to help, to support others. And it gave me a sense of that, you know, they look at Westside not as a church people go to necessarily, but a church where people come from, you know, and spread their good intentions. And, you know, by doing so, demonstrate the word, not in a preachy kind of a way, you know, but in living through our values.
Yeah, the service begins when the worship ends, right?
Right.
You get out there and be sent into the world. And then the final core value is acting justly. So what does that mean to you personally, to be acting justly in your life?
I think for me, it's a learning process. I think with everything that's happened this last year, with social justice, that there's a lot to learn. And I think how Westside can help is they can offer us different opportunities to learn and talk about it. Because I know for me, I don't know enough, and I need to know more. Acting justly, I really, just doing the right thing, doing the next right thing, and thinking about how it may affect someone else that has a different history than mine. I've spoken to someone that's on my team at work, and she's Black, and she says she worries every time her son, who's 22, leaves the house. What's going to happen to him? Is he going to come home? And I just was like, oh, I've never had to worry about that with my daughters. So having the conversations with different people opens you up to understand where people are coming from. And having those discussions, it's important to hear what everybody has to say and to try and learn and grow.
I love that. The posture of learning is really inherent in acting justly and then doing the next thing. Sometimes we put pressure on ourselves. We got to save the planet, save the world. But we can do the next best thing and next right thing. How about for you, Harris?
To me, acting justly is a summation of all three previous core values. If we don't live contemplatively, we don't know what's just. And in a place as large as Westside, there's a lot of individuals having their own sense of what's right. Wow. But having that as one of the fourth core value, I think it's important that it's the fourth core value because it's informed by the previous three. And unless you have the sense of loving inclusively, you can't be just. So I think it really rolls everything all into one in a way that we can all connect with as a group instead of how many hundreds of individuals.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own opinion, right?
Yeah.
And so how do we create space where together we can do the next right thing or the next best thing? And how else do you feel it connects with our life together and our ministry as people who are part of Westside?
Well, I think it just builds the community. And, to Harris's point, all the core values work together. And knowing that you're always accepted here, whatever history you come with, wherever you're from, wherever you want to go. I mean, you're accepted here. And being open to all of that and being accepted and loving generously and helping, it's just who we are. So it's important.
Thank you. How about you, Harris?
Well, no matter how different we are, we're all the same, and to act justly is to recognize that, which, certainly would be part of God's plan. Everybody is created equal. Yeah. And the world sometimes doesn't treat everybody as equals, but this has to be a place where that really does live. Yeah. Where people are equal, where everyone is the same, everyone is treated justly. And with our geographical area becoming more diverse all the time, we can't survive as a church, and we're not doing our work as a church unless we act justly and demonstrate those
Yeah.
values.
Well, it moves us forward, but it also reaches back to our Judeo-Christian heritage. I mean, the Old Testament scripture is clear about the commitment to the common good and to the human family, in addition to the tribe, and clearly the early church and Jesus spoke often about this. And anything else before we end our time together that you feel is important to say?
I would just say there's so much good going on at Westside. These core values, we're already living into them.
Yeah.
It's just how do we lean in a little bit more. And we're really on the right path, and it's exciting time to be part of Westside.
Yeah, great. How about anything you want to add, Harris?
Well, as Judy said, these are things we're already living, and that's why we recognize them as core values. While we want to aspire to do them more, we're already doing these things. And to actually put this on paper, literally and figuratively, where people can see it, it says this is who we are. And if this speaks to you, if this makes you feel welcome, you belong here.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, some of us don't remember our baptism. I didn't. Some of us did have to, we're baptized as adults. We remember, and all of us who are members here at some point have, affirmed and proclaimed our faith in Jesus long before we had any idea what it meant, and we've been living into that calling. And that's what's beautiful about these values, and I hear you saying, is that it's the now and the not yet part of faith. It's like we are, this is in essence who we are, but there's so much more that we can become in the future. And so if you are energized by these values, you feel like they're important for a community to stand for this in today's world, both in person but also in the online world, then I encourage you to invest in our future, in our present, because we are a community committed to living contemplatively, to loving inclusively, sharing generously, and acting justly in Christ's name. So as we move into this next year of ministry, will we be the kind of people who are living our lives on autopilot? Or will we be learning together how to live contemplatively? Will we be about the work of forming our little tribe, our little club, or will we together be learning how to love inclusively? Will we be a community that hoards its gifts and its resources, or will we be a community learning together how to share generously? Will we be a community focused primarily on me, myself, and I and ourselves, or will we be a community learning together how to act justly, not only here, but in the world? Or to quote Howard Thurman, the spiritual mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., will we be a swamp or a reservoir or a canal? So I want to explore these metaphors very briefly. I want you to consider your own life, your family's life, and I want you to consider our collective life together. And before I begin, let me just name the fact that Howard Thurman's understanding of swamp predates our understanding. We understand it is important to the larger ecosystem. So just keep that at bay as you hear Howard Thurman explore these metaphors. So what is a swamp? Well, a swamp has an inlet, but it doesn't have an outlet. Water flows in, but it doesn't leave, and so the water begins to rot. And many living things die in the swamp, which is why there's like a death-like odor in a swampy place. There is life in a swamp, but it's very stale. What's a reservoir? A reservoir is built either out of the earth or in some other way for one purpose, which is to hold water. It is a place where water is stored until it is needed. And in the building of a reservoir, provisions are made for both the inflow and the outflow of water. And what is a canal?
A canal is a device made to move water from one place to another in an orderly and direct manner. It does not hold water permanently, but it holds it temporarily as a way of transporting things through it. And as such, a canal is created to constantly bring water in and constantly release water out. So what are you? Are you a swamp? Are you always grasping for more and more and more, never content with what you have? Do you tend to hoard things, afraid that you might lose them? Do you lack juice in your life, vitality? Is there a stench about you? Are you a swamp? Are you a reservoir? Do you understand intellectually that your life doesn't belong to you? Do you understand that you are a manager of another's gifts and resources? Are you ready and able and willing to help when called upon to serve? Have you developed a way and a method to keep the inlet and the outlet in good working condition? Are you a reservoir? Or are you a canal? Are you a connector of people, of movements, of purposes? Are you a channel of grace through whom gifts and resources continue to flow seemingly effortlessly at times to others? Are you making of your life a network of mutuality through whom all kinds of things, all kinds of communication is possible? Are you a canal? And what are we at Westside? Who are we? Are we a swamp? Are we hoarding our resources? Are we focusing all of our attention on insiders so that we have little left for anybody outside of our community? Are we a community slowly declining and decaying because nothing's flowing out? Are we a swamp? Are we a reservoir? Do we have sufficient resources to be of service to one another and to the larger world? Are we a community that people can come to and get something important and meaningful for their lives? Are we focused on ensuring that our water supply never diminishes to the point where we are dry? Are we a reservoir? Or are we a canal? Do we invite and encourage each other to connect with something bigger than ourselves? Are we a community that connects with and channels resources to those beyond our community, those we never meet, perhaps? Are we, to quote Harris Fleming, a place people go to, or a place people come from? Are we a canal?